Have you ever thought about what happens when you just disappear from someone's life? Do you truly vanish from someone's life, not just a slight absence? Don't text, call, or get in touch. In a world where people often take others for granted, can you imagine how they will truly feel when you leave? Let's change the script. Leave, and I promise their world will fall apart. If you've ever been in a relationship or situation where someone treated you like an option, this video is for you. We're going to talk about a powerful idea today: how they really feel when you just disappear from their life. We will explore 9 intense emotional stages that they will experience when you disappear, and I assure you that by the end of this video, you will understand why sometimes the most powerful action is to walk away and never look back, especially if you're ready to discover your worth and make them miss you like never before. Just write the words in the space below. I'm done being a choice because you won't be one again after this. Stay tuned until the end, as there's a special 10th emotional stage that you won't want to miss. If you want to change the way they see you forever, watch this video all the way to the end. You experience the first sting of rejection. It starts with rejection. They didn't think you'd leave. You worked, planned, and cared. They relied on you until you left. When you depart, it strikes them unexpectedly. They didn't anticipate it. You may have heard the saying, "You don't know what you have until it's gone." That's exactly what happens when you disappear. Please understand that when you leave their life, you leave comfort, validation, and the ability to always be there. They feel rejected, but it's not a shallow rejection. It's a deep personal sting, because they realize for the first time that they don't have control over you. People don't like to admit it, but when they know someone will always be there, they start treating you like a safety net, and you become an option instead of a priority. When you vanish, you take away their safety net, which triggers a wave of panic. It's like free falling. They thought they could depend on you, and now they're thinking about how they let this happen. How did I get out of hand? The sting of rejection pierces. What went wrong? It's especially challenging when you've been emotionally open. They thought you'd always be there for them, no matter what. Maybe they even thought they were doing you a favor by keeping you around. That's the real irony. You can't warn them if you want them to feel rejection. Don't tell them you're leaving. Don't give them an ultimatum. And definitely don't ask for their attention. Just ghost them. When you disappear without a trace, it hits them harder because they didn't see it coming. It prompts them to reflect on their behavior and communicates that you've had enough disrespect. When you walk away, don't look back. They will feel the rejection, and trust me, it will hit them in ways they didn't expect. The person they thought they controlled over, the one who always stuck around no matter what, has just left the building. Let them deal with the aftermath. Number 2, the void of missing you. After the pain of rejection wears off, they start to feel something else. Emptiness. They probably told themselves that they wouldn't miss you. Oh, if they leave, I'll just move on, they thought. However, when you truly vanish, they begin to experience a profound sense of emptiness, a void that confronts them directly. They go about their day as usual, but something is missing. That's when they realize you were the one who gave their life meaning. You provided it energy, warmth, and emotional stability. Without you, everything feels bland. You see, when someone takes you for granted, they assume you're just a part of the background. They assume that the dynamic between the two of you is replaceable. But here's the truth. No one else brings what you did to their life. They might try to fill the void with someone else, but it's never the same. You brought a unique energy, one that made their life easier, more enjoyable, and more fulfilling. The void deepens with each passing day. Perhaps they believed they could find solace in someone new or in their friends. Perhaps they believed they could concentrate on their work or indulge in hobbies, as a way to cope with their loss. However, this void persists, constantly reminding them of what they've lost. It's a constant reminder that they never expected to feel this way about you. They always had you around, but when you leave, things change, and they miss the little things. The small things you did for them, like talks, laughs, and making them feel understood, are what they suddenly miss, but you're not there to give it to them. When you disappear, make sure it's impossible for them to find you again. Block them on social media. If they are unable to contact you, erase their phone number and prevent them from checking in on you, even if they choose to. The more they realize that they can't, the deeper that void will become. Sit them in that emptiness, keeping in mind that people often fail to appreciate their possessions until they are no longer there. Let them miss you and feel your absence. As they feel that void, they'll realize what you brought to their lives. By now, they're really missing you and are starting to feel desperate. Their curiosity is overwhelming them, leading them to wonder where they are, what they are doing, and who they are with. They obsess over your life because they can't reach you. Nobody is more unsettling than not knowing what's going on with someone you once knew. People who don't know the age of social media will be checking your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and every other platform to see what you're up to. The problem lies in the fact that you're not providing them with any updates, stories, posts, or any other content. They become agitated due to their aversion to the unknown. As soon as you disappear, their minds start racing with questions. Here's where their fear comes in. They start to wonder if you've moved on, if they're seeing someone else, and if they'd be better off without me. They can't handle not knowing, so they become obsessed with trying to find out. This may lead them to contact mutual friends to learn more about you. They'll ask you questions, but they'll be too embarrassed to say they care. It's disheartening to witness someone who previously believed they didn't require your assistance, now making an effort to understand what you're doing. When someone is inquisitive and unable to discover the answers they seek, their mind will fill in the gaps by visualizing you with another person, imagining you happier and more fulfilled without them. As the days go by, this thought consumes them and turns from curiosity to obsession. The best part is that they want to know more about you, the less they know. You become the one thing they can't stop thinking about, fueling their curiosity. You need to turn into a ghost. Go completely offline and don't post anything that could give them hints about your life. Let them wonder and think about what's going on with you. Every time they check their phone to see what's going on, they'll be closer to the edge. You have the power now, and their curiosity is your best weapon. Don't answer them. Give them silence. The fourth step is to engage in deep self-reflection, which is a challenging process. After days or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing, they finally turn inward and start asking themselves the difficult questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? Regret begins to surface, and it's a challenging experience to endure. People don't like to admit when they've made mistakes. It's in their nature. However, when you're no longer around, they must confront their mistakes directly, which can be an unpleasant experience. They start replaying every interaction, wondering if they could have done something differently. The times. They didn't read your texts. The times they ignored your feelings and treated you like an afterthought, and it hurts them because they know they had a good thing going, but that they took it for granted. They now find themselves trapped in their own thoughts, causing them immense pain. This stage is particularly intense due to its internal nature. They are no longer able to place blame on you, as you are no longer there to argue with them or offer excuses. Over time, they reflect on how much they messed up, feeling guilt and wishing they could go back in time and do things differently, but it's too late. Try not to explain why you broke up or make them see their mistake at this stage. Let them figure it out. Self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize that they were the cause of what went wrong. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Something shifts inside them. They go from questioning themselves to wanting you back. The tables have turned. You were once the one who put in all the effort, who cared, who pursued, but now it's their turn. The urge to pursue you becomes overwhelming. They can't stop thinking about. You can't stop wanting to reach out, can't stop wondering if it's too late to make things right. They'll start sending those "I've been thinking about you" texts. They'll like your old Instagram posts, maybe even comment on something to see if you respond. They might send a late-night message after a few drinks, hoping to rekindle what was lost. Here's the thing: they're chasing you. Now they've gone from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back. And this is where you hold all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but you don't need to respond. In fact, you shouldn't let them feel the desperation. Let them wonder. If you've moved on, the more they pursue, the more they'll realize that they've lost control of the situation. They no longer hold the upper hand, and that drives them crazy when they start chasing. Don't give in. The moment you respond, the power shifts back to them. You've worked too hard to reclaim your worth, and now is not the time to give that away. Let them pursue you, but don't reward their efforts. Silence is best here. Let them feel the pain of wanting something they can't have. Sixth, the battle between relief and regret. When you first leave, they might feel a short-lived sense of relief. It's that feeling of freedom where they think, "Finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore," and they might even feel positive about it. But here's the thing about that freedom. After hanging out with friends, they're excited, but only temporarily. For a moment they think everything is going to be okay. But as soon as they're alone in their quiet apartment or scrolling through their phone, the regret starts to set in. They realize that freedom without you is actually emptiness, and that the people they thought could replace you are just surface-level distractions. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It feels like a solution, but it only makes them more dehydrated, desperate, and regretful. Also, people often think that getting over an ex will be as simple as finding someone new, but it's not. They quickly come to the realization that a quick fix or a meaningless fling cannot replace someone who provided emotional stability and a genuine connection. Let them lie flat on their backs and experience this freedom. Don't rush back in when they start feeling regret. Instead, let them sit in the empty space they thought would feel so good. Remember, the relief they initially feel is temporary, but your absence will haunt them in ways they never expected. Number 7. The desire to play. The desire to play the game. Once regret settles in, they panic. Now they want to control the situation, but they don't know how. So what do? They try to play games. They start acting distant on purpose, trying to make you jealous, posting photos with other people, making it look like they're happy without you. Maybe they post a cryptic status about moving on, or a selfie that's trying a little too hard. It's all just one big attempt to reel you back in, to make you wonder what they're up to. But here's the thing, you're not playing anymore. You've outgrown the games. You've moved beyond that childish behavior, and you don't even notice their stupid attempts to get you to react. Some people think that manipulating you through jealousy or being hard to get will make you chase after them. But when you stop chasing them and get tired of the game, they'll throw everything at you. Small jabs. Passive-aggressive comments exaggerate things on social media, but they don't work because you're not giving them the attention they want or responding to their childish behavior, which is what drives them crazy. When they can't get a response from you, they lose control and are left grasping for something they can't control. Don't respond to or interact with the vague posts. Just ignore them. Do not reply to the pictures. Their game only works if you play. The moment you stop responding is the moment they learn they can no longer control you. The breaking up. One of the most powerful tools you can use when you disappear is the heavy weight of silence, which breaks people down. Your texts and your presence speaks louder than anything you could say. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. And here's where it gets tough for them, because the silence is so heavy, so unbearable. They start to question everything. They start thinking back to all the times they ignored your calls, all the times they were too busy to reply to your texts, and now they would do anything to hear from you. Silence is torturous for someone who's used to having control. They expect you to reach out. They expect you to ask what's wrong, to beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear, and they have to sit there in the quiet, wondering if they've lost you for good? They can't understand it. Every minute without a word from you feels like a year, and the longer it goes, the more anxious they become. We live in a world of constant communication. Texts, calls, and notifications give you instant satisfaction. When you don't give them an answer right away, they spiral. They're accustomed to the cacophony of a relationship, including the back and forth and even the fights. But silence hurts. The quiet is unbearable. Let your silence be your power. Don't break it or explain yourself. Let them feel the weight of their actions through the silence you leave behind. They'll realize that being unable to reach you is worse than anything they could argue. The fear that makes them crawl back. They crawled back. This is a moment they never anticipated. They are afraid of losing you forever. For a long time, they were content because they thought you'd always be there. They believed you would always be there. But now that you've left, they're terrified. Fear hits them harder than anything else. They start to think, what if I lost them for good? What if they've moved on to someone else? The idea of you sharing laughter and creating memories with someone else fills them with nausea. They're no longer worried about their pride or acting cool. All they can think about is getting you back. This fear makes them do things they swore they'd never do. They'll reach out, say sorry, and beg. Perhaps they will compose lengthy messages explaining how they once didn't value you, but now they do. Maybe they'll show up at your door without warning, hoping for a second chance. The overwhelming fear of losing you forever drives their actions. But here's the truth. By the time they feel that fear, you're already gone. You've moved on, found your strength and independence, and you don't need them anymore. Their fear is real, but it's too late when they come crawling back. Don't give them another chance just because they're afraid. Let them face the consequences of their actions. You've already moved on, and they need to understand that you're not someone to take for granted. Your progress puts you ahead of 99% of people and proves you're a true Stoic who seeks wisdom and understanding. Here's a bonus for you, making things happen of the attainment of emotional freedom. Realizing your personal independence is the culmination of everything. Disappearing means gaining freedom, not just leaving them. Clarity in your own emotions, your own peace you see in many relationships. We get so caught up in making the other person happy, improving our worth, that we forget about our own needs. We forget that we have the power to choose to walk away, to demand better for ourselves. But once you've vanished, once you've reclaimed your space, you start to see things clearly. You no longer need their validation. You no longer care what they think, how they feel, or what they want. You've realized that your happiness isn't tied to them, and that's the most powerful thing you can experience. This is your emotional independence. And here's the best part, they feel it too. They realize that you're not the same person. They once knew you're stronger, now wiser, more confident. They can sense that you've outgrown them, that you no longer need them to feel complete. This is where the tables have turned for good. They're stuck in the same old patterns, but you've evolved, you've broken free from the cycle of validation, and now their opinion means nothing. Own your emotional independence. Don't go back to the old ways, and don't let them feel good about thinking they still have power over your happiness. You've moved on, and that's your biggest win. What's the lesson here? Stop letting people take you for granted. Stop being the person who's always there, no matter how badly they treat you. The moment you walk away, you disappear. If you're ready to take back your power and stop being an option, everything will change. They'll feel it, they'll regret it, and they'll understand they've lost something irreplaceable. Leave a comment below saying, "I'm done being an option," because you're about to become the most powerful version of yourself. If this video spoke to you or changed the way you think, please consider becoming a member of the channel. It helps us keep making outstanding videos like this and makes them available to as many people as possible. If membership isn't for you, please hit the subscribe button. Either way, you're helping the channel grow, and I appreciate all of your support. Remember, you're in charge. See you in the next video.